where people walk into a performance and are like, are you sure this is a performance? And people did all sorts of things, did rituals around me, oil cleansing, somebody threw a towel on me, came and apologized, tried to roast me, hugged me up, like invited me to a party. For an entire year, he committed to getting a picture clicked at a particular spot in his room. After every hour, the guy could not sleep for more than 45 minutes in the entire year.
Would you like to help me feel how it feels for a brief couple of minutes?
Sure.
In today's time, technological advancement has made it difficult for us to sit idle for a few minutes, let alone for 24 hours. One requires a lot of mental strength to complete a performance like the King's Reaction. My dear friend, Mohit Dhingra, a performance artist and a marketeer, showcased the power of the mind through his performance where he sat on a chair for 24 hours without any voluntary movement. I happened to interact with him on these experiences, his learnings, and on his aspirations for future performance. This podcast was shot with a picturesque backdrop of the Mandrem Beach in August of last year. And this conversation ideally provides a great perspective on life. I hope you guys enjoy it as much as we enjoyed recording it. Presenting to you, Mohit Dhingra. Before we start today's episode, I have one request. If you ever got any value out of our content, please subscribe to us. It really motivates the team and enables us to bring bigger guests. We at DOAP upload a new podcast every Tuesday and Friday at 9 p.m. IST, where we bring to you thought leaders, strategic thinkers, and authors to discuss a magnitude of subjects and their perspectives. Thank you. Now let's get back to the episode.
Welcome to another episode. Today we have a very special guest with us, one of my oldest friends that I've ever known. I've known him since school. Just kidding, I met him a week ago and he is one of the coolest person I've met. And he recently did a very courageous performance, I would say, wherein he sat at a chair for 24 hours without moving. He blinked every 10 seconds to mark his presence. Rest, we're going to listen from him. Mohit Dhingra, also known as Mojo.
Bahut shukriya. Thanks for having me, bro.
How you doing, bro?
Damn nice. Just look at the fucking view behind us, bro. I'm glad we were able to secure this out. I mean, there's nobody here. Exactly the kind of time and a spot you'd want in Goa. So yeah, 100%.
Sun shining, beach is rising.
Like 3 beaches right behind us. Like we can look at 3 beaches from here.
We got Mandrem, we got Ashram, and we got Mojo.
Home turf, yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Nice to see you, brother.
Likewise.
Would you like to start by telling a little about yourself so that, you know, the audience and myself, who's only known you a week, knows you better?
Sure. So, people know me as Mojo. The name's Mohit. I am a performance artist and a communication specialist.
Mm-hmm.
I was enrolled into engineering. Didn't go to college for a good 6 semesters. Had about 14 backlogs. During that time, essentially what was happening was I had taken a call to just fucking explore the hell out of everything. Because back in school, I was surely, let's say, one of the better people, studying for IIT JEE, preparing, going heads in for that. But shit came falling down towards the end of it when, let's say, grandmom expired, like right before the board started. And that really was a kick in the gut, and she said something that pushed me towards the fact, okay, I really need to make sure where my heart's at. And that's when pretty much exploration started. So got into engineering, didn't want to do anything with it. And during those 4 years, I was traveling, I was performing theatre, performing poetry, running a couple of startups, working with organizations. Ended up clearing all of those backlogs, like about 24 exams in my last year.
In one go?
In a couple of, like the last 2 semesters, it was a do or die because there's this program that I ended up going to right after called the Young India Fellowship at Ashoka University. And it's a 1-year program where like 100 of the country's best people from all across disciplines, social backgrounds are brought together. So had to have an undergrad degree for that.
Definitely.
So for the first time I felt like, okay, let's just have it for the heck of it.
Okay.
Because the YF was something that would let me explore. So took on that, studied 24 different courses there, from history to psychology, leadership, group dynamics, Shakespeare and the world,
Wow.
everything interdisciplinary basically. My call was to just fucking juice out life in that year. I didn't leave campus for like about max 7 nights was when I left campus for, and other than that, the entire year was just there. Post that, I ended up working on a mental health emergency helpline to set one up in India.
Wow.
As soon as a year to that got done, the CA and RC protests were happening. I think that's when I really got into the communication side of things as well. Ended up setting up comms and marketing for the Young India Fellowship, then the Ashoka grad programs. Then quite recently ended up quitting my job as the communications head for the Indian School of Development Management. And all this while for the last year in Goa, when I moved here, performance art has been up. Considering what performance art or performing arts has been used to be, like how it's been perceived or like how we've grown up interacting with art, this is a very conscious attempt to sort of blur the lines between life and performance and sort of dive deeper into that investigation. And the performances are just a medium for me to actually do that. So yeah, right now there's a documentary that we're making on the King's Reaction, the performance that you just talked about. Ended up calling it the King's Reaction, and working on that docu. And there's a couple of other performances in the works. So yeah, all in all, that's that.
That's beautiful, bro.
100%.
Before we get into the King's Reaction, I would want to understand from you where your passion for theatre artist as a performance artist came into in the books, and how did it intrigue you to, learn more about it?
Sure. I think theatre kicked it off. I had first done theatre back in school. I was damn good at it. I was damn good at playing basketball, doing a bunch of other things in school up till class 10th. I think that's when the ball broke and I just sort of shifted towards science, engineering, maths, logic. I was, not to hoot my own on, but like my mom was a maths teacher. I ended up being some sort of a prodigy in maths during the early years. So it made sense, like I was enjoying studying that, but I wasn't diving deeper into life. Wasn't exploring wide enough in life, wasn't meeting any people in life, almost like missed out what life even meant during school, because I remember on my farewell meeting people during, like on the last day of my school, and I was wondering high school life hoti kya hai? Matlab, I literally missed out on the last 2 years because either I was studying for engineering or either I was playing a basketball game in a different school in Delhi. So as soon as I got to college, theatre just exploded back again. I think that was the game changer because I got to really set up a society, build a culture in the team, work on ourselves first with theatre, like had to teach ourselves theatre, a bunch of different art forms within that field. And I think that really built the fundamentals to what people have been able to do before me. Like, I will put my head down and say this any other day that no matter who it is, I think we're all standing on the shoulders of giants. Considering what's happened in history, what's happened with people experimenting with art forms, I think that really made me more curious during that time. I started doing stage theatre, street, performing poetry, but all of those things, when I was starting to do a mix and mash of different art forms together, even at the YF, we made a production where we decided to experiment and bring together about 12, 13 art forms together in a single art production. Because just the talent pool of individuals that we had as a cohort was just mind fucking blowing. Like, you would not be able to comprehend how is an art, a performance artist studying sociology or international relations from India's external, like ex-internal affairs or external affairs ministers, and then people from the parliament, leaders are teaching you, and then there's people who was beatboxers, a sitarist, an ice hockey player from the Indian team, a McKinsey consultant, an IIT Kharagpur grad. All of those people were studying together, and that's really struck the idea of just getting everything together. So that made my curiosity go deeper a little bit. कि क्या किया जा सकता है, वो हदें कहाँ पे जाके रुकेंगी, कि where does the line really end, or is there even a line? So that's where the quest came into play. So it wasn't that acting had my savvy. I know for a fact that I really didn't want to act. because that meant an additional layer of identity that I would have to sort of enforce upon myself. And here the idea was to go a little deeper, a little inward, a little like, okay, chal kya raha hai actually yahan pe. So I think performance art, just pondering, like falling upon it, stumbling upon it during YF at a course called Art Appreciation. And then just one person, like one of the better people to teach group dynamics in the world. So he ended up teaching a course there on the heart of leadership. And he just ran a simulation. He didn't teach using normal pedagogy. He ran a simulation where you couldn't know if it was life or people living in that simulation with multiple identities, like being torn between the two, and that ended up making people go so fucking deep into themselves. Like फट के लोग बाहर निकल रहे हैं, उनके दिल सामने आ चुके हैं, like they're all heart and they're able to reflect upon their own selves. I was like, if this space between the lines exists, then how can I sort of create a jump start or a wormhole to just get to that space and then experiment in it, where people walk into a performance and are like, are you sure this is a performance? I think if you have them there, then they're sucked into the moment where all they have to be is just in the now. And I think that creates a very interesting space. So my passion is now just to investigate, tear it apart a little deeper, like what that space possibly holds. How many gears do I possibly have? What can I experience within myself, or just like with respect to what people are going through, and how is this invisible interaction even happening? Like what goes on behind the scenes? What are the scenes? What is the damn curtain? I don't know. So I think it's just that curiosity that just I've held on to with all my heart, and I think that's basically guiding me right now.
So when it comes to performance
Yeah.
acts, I would say, I'm sure there's a diverse range of things you can do.
Sure.
Do you have a particular inspiration that you seek from someone who's been doing something similar what you've been doing?
Over the last few weeks, even before the performance or when we were actually started talking to people about it, there'd be two kinds of responses. The first ones would be where they're like, yo, what the hell did you just say? Because if you tell somebody that you're going to sit on a chair without moving any external muscles voluntarily, and then you would blink after every 10 seconds to mark your attendance, on top of that, that would essentially mean that you have to be there present in each of those moments in those 24 hours. And I ended up calling it the King's reaction. So that tweaked people's fancies, like their imaginations weren't able to really rationally grasp what that even could mean or look like or would feel like, because we've grown up witnessing art, whether it be music, dance,
Correct.
books, movies. We've never lived art, or I would equate it to just living life. Like I call people in, they're living life. We really don't know what's going to happen. There's no theater, there's no practice to this. There's no practice to life. We just show up to those 24 hours and then we find out what those 24 hours look like. And so that's the one. People don't get what will happen in those 24 hours. I'd love it. The second response that I get is references, which you pointed out to us. Like let's say a Marina Abramovich or a David Blaine or a Chris Burden, Tei-Ching Hsieh. Those are usually the 3-4 names that come up in a similar space of experimentation that really I want to head towards. So Marina Abramovich did a similar piece experimenting with nothingness. Tei-Ching Hsieh did a piece where I took the inspiration for the structure for this piece, where he for an entire year he committed to getting a picture clicked at a particular spot in his room.
Okay.
After every hour. That meant the guy could not sleep for more than 45 minutes in the entire year. I mean, that I would say that performance had imperfection built into it, because there would be times when he would actually miss it. But that's the beautiful part. Like, you're not trying to run by the line. He committed to a particular statement, and then whatever happens later in that span, that's life, that's the art piece.
That's the process, basically.
That's the art piece itself, that's the performance itself, and that is life itself. Like, you're letting that part go. It's not a hardcore compulsion कि exactly ये नहीं हुआ, नहीं है, art piece खारिज है. ये गलत किया इसने. Like there is no, like life को आप गलत नहीं कर सकते. You are just going with life. Like whatever happens, happens. It is what it is. So having known that somebody's ran a marathon like that, sort of knew, like guided me to a fact that okay, if that was a marathon, probably what I'm running is an ultra fast sprint on steroids. Because the idea that every 10 seconds you have to blink, like I think that for me was a personal challenge that I had no need to induce into the performance, but I was like, ye karte hai. If I am not trying to see how many gears this car even have, अगर मैं वो एक्सपेरिमेंट करने की चाह मुझ में नहीं है, then there's no point. Then why am I doing this? If it's just another performance, that's not what I'm really here for, right? So yeah, these are the two responses. I mean, these 3-4 people, they've, at least from the kind of stuff that I do, that I've studied, I think they've really done a lot of good things that I really appreciate. And yeah, hardcore respect for that.
It was something which had immense discomfort, and you embraced it. Yeah. So before we dive into the King's reaction a little bit more, would you like to, help me feel how it feels for a brief couple of minutes to see, so that I'm on the same page as you, and I feel you deeply in this conversation as well.
Sure. So you want to sit and you want to focus at a point, or do you want to lock eyes?
With each other?
Yeah, because then that's a different dynamic altogether that you're stepping into. Like when people were coming in during that performance, and
you had a lot of people looking at you and a lot of thoughts coming through it, is what you're trying to say.
To me, for sure. But like another curiosity, intriguing part was ki, how, if I'm doing nothing, how the hell are they feeling all these things so intensely while they rationally don't even know what the hell they're feeling? तो ये कैसे हो रहा है? और उसके बीच में when you're not told what to do, आप कुछ भी कर सकते हो कभी भी, which is essentially life. सब allowed है, ठीक है? अगर if you put people into that space, they're just there in that moment, and everything that's been pushed aside in their life, in their minds, comes gushing to the center. So just the idea of sheer presence that Marina Abramovich did, she put a chair in the Museum of Modern Art in New York, MoMA, and she's like, I'm gonna sit here and give all of my presence to anybody who chooses to sit on this chair. She did this 8 hours a day for 3 months.
Wow.
And when you give somebody a sheer presence and just that, there is a lot that you need going from the performer's end, because all of their cells is committed to you, whoever sits on that chair in just that moment. So I feel like that's a different piece altogether.
I want to come back to this conversation a little bit later, because I have some questions based on that.
Got it.
In terms of unattachment and in terms of the ego as self.
Okay, yeah, interesting.
So we'll get into it in a few, but before that, let's do the eye locking thing, because like you said, I would understand better looking at you and seeing, looking into your eye and seeing what kind of emotions you throwing at me and what kind of emotions I'm throwing at you, and I would understand your situation and the King's reaction better.
Got it. I think just a nudge before we start on that, also observe your own body and mind a lot more at the same time. Just the sheer stillness ensues upon your body and mind, what happens then? What are the jumps that your mind and body are giving to you at different spots, internally, externally? Kya chal raha hai? So yeah, interesting bit, might find out.
So whatever you tell me, shall I time it?
Yeah, I think we can time it.
2 minutes?
Let's do 5.
Let's do 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got this.
I'm nervous though, but let's do it.
One eternity later.
How long has it been?
6.5 minutes. Not bad. How did I do?
I mean, there's no way of doing it. No?
It's my art. Of course,
Yeah.
comment on it. Comment on my art. How did I do?
I mean, it's not even like my partner asked me this because she was a part of the team who was shooting the entire or capturing the 24 what happened in those 24 hours, and it's not even as much. The focus isn't on, let's say, the eye contact. It's just a byproduct that we realized as one of the things we learned from those 24 hours. Like, people would come there and be lost into their own confusion, thrown into their own feelings, and they could do anything that they wanted or not. And people did all sorts of things, did rituals around me, oil cleansing, somebody threw a towel on me, came and apologized, tried to roast me, hugged me up, like invited me to a party, uh, got a range of plants planted in me, around me, uh, do, drew sketches, meditated, laid down next to me, and all across the clock for the 24 hours. So that was really intriguing to see कि कहाँ से आ रही है impulse, and are people able to recognize what's happening inside by their feeling what they're feeling. And it's not even try to find out to know for yourself कि exactly यही है जो मैं feel कर रहा हूँ कि great मैं जीत गया, या फिर मैंने exactly हर 10 सेकंड में blink कर दिया, I did it the best. It's just committing to that performance and then committing yourself to living life with all of you, all of your heart, every single one of those seconds. फिर जो होगा देख लेंगे और वो वहीं जाके पता लगेगा. Like, you can't prepare for this piece. Like, whatever happens, happens. So you have to let go of control towards the end when you step in.
When you say you don't need any practice, but I feel you definitely need a lot of practice to sit idle with yourself, with your mind, because your mind is like a monkey that keeps jumping from one thought to another.
Yeah.
From one discomfort to another discomfort. So, of course, there's practice involved, is what I feel.
Sure.
But since you said you don't need practice, you just show up.
So let me rephrase that. I think थोड़ा meta बोल दिया मैंने वो sentence. If I literally like sort of break it down, you definitely need to know your mind and body really, really well. And there is no two ways. There are no two ways around that. And I think my fundamentals come from Vipassana. I think that has given me a technique or a tool to actually help me, or like has facilitated a path for me. Where I do my own fair bit of exploration with life or everything that's happening within or around me. But I had to figure out my body as well. I did the same piece back in my room in the middle of the lockdown when the farmers' protests were happening at my own place. Had it go live on Zoom. I was able to do the 24 hours then also. Like, there was like an explosion of people online, and कोई अपनी रज़ाई में से उठ के बोल रहा है because, और कोई ऐसे ऑफिस जा रहा है. Somebody is just like, it's a Monday morning in Delhi, peak Delhi winters. So that was a piece, sure, but like I realized a few things from that I had to figure my body beforehand. Ki, can my body take 24 hours of not eating, sleeping, or drinking water? That's the first thing that comes to anybody's minds, right? And
Or use the washroom.
Yeah, fair. So I realized ki yes, you just need to know how. So when I worked with my body a little, when I was fasting a little, figuring out what my body dynamics are, right, I realized ki if I stopped eating and drinking 10 hours prior to the performance, then I will not even have to go pee or take a shit during those 24 hours, because all the excess liquids and solids from my body are already out of my system by then.
Yeah.
So that was one. Then could my body sustain it? I did it for about 30 hours of without water, and I realized I could do it easy. So I realized कि इतनी दिक्कत नहीं होने वाली है. The human body is capable of that very easily, and it's not just particular to me. I think it's the same for everybody.
That is absolutely true.
About, like, let alone exceptions of somebody who has an extreme disease, sure, like I will not take those into account here. When it comes to the mind, it becomes a purely mind game then. I totally heed to that, like, because there are a lot of impulses, thoughts, things just jumping out at you from in your body, in your mind all the time in those 24 hours, and all it takes is to react to just one of those impulses.
Correct.
Like, when one of those mosquitoes was sitting here, I could feel every one of its legs come up and then And you're like, okay, that's a spot. Now I'm gonna bite it here, and then I could feel the blood, him sucking out the blood, and then he flew away, and I was like, okay. Then somebody pointed out that my legs were swollen, and then I consciously took my attention there, and I was like, okay, what's up with the legs? So a lot of these thoughts come up, and all it takes is just one reaction to just like, and it's a very mindless reaction if you think about it. Every reaction will be very mindless. However, if I really feel कि okay, what is this urge coming, और मैं एक second उसको अगर देख लूँ, if I am able to consciously observe it, you actually have a decision to actually react or not. If you don't react, now that's a complete mind battle.
Yes.
Keep not reacting and just sheerly observing, because I did observe every one of those moments. Like, there were things that my camera crew who were like sort of shuffling, like it's all my people, like some of my closest friends, like 3 people as the camera crew, one person who had my phone and managing my comms, and one person who was handling the floor. There were a lot of times when they didn't realize a few moments in their 6-hour shifts that I ended up living, because मेरे लिए तो compulsory है ना, I have to be there in each of those moments. So I think then it becomes a sheer mind game. You will feel sleep. You will be thrown into the deepest, darkest corners of yourself. Things that you don't even know exist as emotions, situations, feelings, things pop up. Yeah, you do have to let go of control, and then still need to be strong enough in your head to be like, I will make it through. I think that's where it came from. I have fundamentals in life, things that I have tried and tested in different situations, and I know कि भाई, no matter what happens, these pillars will not move. Like, the first one ever in my life was don't give up. Just don't give up. Like, I was bullied during high school in my basketball team. We were damn good across the state, and some of my seniors ended up pitting me with one of my own batchmates who was an athletic freak. And obviously everybody knew he'd beat me in a sprint, but when they would just be sledging me on every 3-pointer that I'd taken in practice, ragging me on that. When they pit us together against each other, they were like, okay, let's see who runs the longest, like who stops first. So the only thing I had to say to the person and the people who were coming at me was कि either you stop running, or either you stop running first, or I will die running on this
Die
field.
on the field. Yeah.
Like, there is no plan B here. Either of those two will happen. So when you have that decision so solid कि you will stay, and nothing will, like, you will not budge from that no matter what before the finish line shows up, then that's that. अब जो होगा उसमें वो 24 घंटे में देखी जाएगी क्या होता है. So I sat with the same objective. I was like, I will move from this chair after 24 hours, or I will die on this chair. I don't mind that. I know my body will take it. I know my mind will also take it, because even though it's a completely different ball game when it's like people around you and you're witness, or you're living all of their presence, and the room is changing, like situations are happening, their impulses are acting out on other people, they're projecting their feelings off, and it's like a completely different dynamic every second. So it affects you, and you do the same. You reflect off a lot. I could only feel it. I don't have like quantitative measures to say कि okay, ये telepathy चल रही थी हमारे. I can't say that, but it was happening. Like, you can't take it away from the people who lived it, like, because it was just eye contact within a couple of my people, which we realized. Like, I had no plan on communicating jack shit to my people, but some things you realize कि okay, like, the mind is capable of so much more.
So much.
And you only realize that once you're there in that space of sheer neutrality.
Present.
Like nothingness. Presence. Ultra presence.
Yeah. When you focus on one moment and only one moment, this very moment is when you are living your best life.
Past future तो है ही नहीं. कहाँ है? Legit नहीं है. There is no past or future. So, but our mind's there. Our mind, like a monkey, either jumping into the past or the future. कि ये कैसे होगा, कैसे नहीं होगा, और ये कैसे हुआ या कैसे नहीं हुआ. That's the jump, and it's about giving it training to actually sit down, chill, have a look around. It's a damn nice beach.
Yeah. we did spoke about your preparation for this kind of performance that you did.
Oh, sorry, would you mind if I say something?
Not at all.
With the practice bit, I did Vipassana for 3 hours straight. I did the same format also for 3 hours straight. And I realized कि you cannot do the 24 hours.
How's that?
Practice में नहीं होगा ये. क्योंकि ये theater नहीं है. मतलब if I do the 24 hours, that is the performance itself.
Yeah.
So once I did the 3 hours, it was a pilot that I had done, and I was like, okay, it's worth jumping into. I know for a fact the last few hours are going to be a stretch. Maybe the last 16 hours. Like this time, it was the last 16 hours that was a stretch. Last 5 hours, I was even out of fumes. Like the first time I had fumes. Like this time I didn't catch sleep. Electricity went in Mandrem because I had to switch my sleep cycle because the performance started at 8 in the night. And I had to switch my sleep cycle, and the light went in the morning, and I only could catch 5 hours of sleep. So I was out of sleep also, out of fumes. Like there's nothing left inside me. But you only find that out how things play out in those 24 hours. So I had done a maximum of 3 hours before actually jumping in. So that's what I meant. Ki ek had tak you can control factors, practice, figure your mind and body out. And then the final stretch or what the journey is actually like, you reach that moment and then you eventually live it. That's the only way. So, yeah.
When you focused on your every moment that you are witnessing, does the breath come in handy? That using the breath of your through your nostrils, does that play a vital role in keeping you strong and keeping you upright?
100%. I think it's an ultra tool. It is the only thing that's been there with me, with everybody who's living for the eternity of their lives. Every single passing moment that we've been alive, that's pretty much been the only thing that we've been doing. We've been breathing. And it connects our internal body to the external. And it is a tool that is consistently there, right? Like it surpasses everything else. So I think it's like instead of a chant or a word or a location to point my mind to externally or here or whatever, I chose like fundamentally how the Buddha said in his technique. Like not Buddhism. I'm just saying just the technique that the man gave. Funda simple tha. You just focus on your breath. Don't modulate it. Don't pressurize it. Don't change it. Alter it. Let it be. Just see it for what it is. And it's always there. Like it always there to like. It's an anchor that you can always go back to. So there were times when I was feeling extreme things, and I would go back to my breath. I would go to a certain part on my body, just feel the sensations there, what's up there, and just bring myself back to the fact, yeah, even that's passing, even this is passing, okay. Oh, this part has gone numb. That's some pain. Like I couldn't feel my lower back after a while. Like my upper back is just going like this after a while. Like it's just like dangling on the chair. Like this part is just swollen up. Yeah, okay. Eventually we'll get up and like there'll be a moment when it'll come back to neutral. So those things keep up. But the breath eventually is what you can always use to center yourself back.
Do you recall a lot of moments from your 24-hour performance? Because I was thinking of start to ask you about of a time range of 6 hours. 6 hours, then next 6 hours, and then the next 12.
I remember all of it.
You remember all of it?
All of it.
So how do we start? Shall we start with the first 6 hours and you tell us how you felt in the first 6 hours? If you would like to share that.
Yeah, I really don't mind actually, because ghoom fir ke eventually it's about two things. This is something that we are chatting about when we're sort of molding the narrative for a documentary as well, because now we're planning to do, let's say, a series of 3-4 performances and mapping my journey, the process, what I lived through, aftermath maybe during this 24 hours, everything, but also of what people live and why exactly, what happens that they end up living that. So this performance is not just about what I can or cannot do, but more about people finding out who they already are. So हाँ, मतलब we can go through phases. I don't mind. And it was very different. So I'll just go from my perspective, not from hardly from what people felt. I think the process of 2 weeks leading up to it was ultra tumultuous. Like it was just sine wave. It was a disrespect to that because If you ever drew a graph, it would like breach dimensions, the kind of shit I ended up living through. Just because I didn't have people initially. The idea had been shot down 3 times before last year. Like once because people thought like it was politically inclined. I was like, I'm not giving out explanations. Like, you take it for what you live it as. But logistical problems, people don't like. Some venue owners didn't have the guts to actually hold it. They're like, we don't want to get into this. So it got shot down thrice. And after 12 venues in Goa refusing it, we still were like, okay, once more, like get Rocky Balboa kind of shit, like get up the 8th time. And this time things changed. Like we realized at the venue we needed Wi-Fi. और वहाँ पे Wi-Fi गोवा में BT इतनी है कि there wasn't anybody was willing to put on Wi-Fi. So, and I was drinking, I was smoking, and I was having a very fluctuating lifestyle with like an off sleep cycle, bad diet, just like figuring out. Okay, I haven't drank water all day. Let me get a glass of water now because 200 ml चाहिए body को. I had messed up. It was chaotic to the utmost. Like I broke down in front of the photocopy shop when I went to get my invites printed out, and I called Gaurav and I'm crying. I'm like, bro, how is this going to happen? Like our lenses are not here. We don't know if what will happen if the electricity goes out. Streaming का कुछ पता नहीं है. Streaming किससे हो रही है ये नहीं पता है. Slots are not fixed for people to actually perform. How will people come in? What their interaction will be? मुझे नहीं पता. All I need, like, it was just so much work that I had to do, like running a fucking startup, starting it off from scratch, setting it up, doing the marketing, PR, designs for it, logistics, setting it up, getting the team together, then making sure your people are driven. And then if you have any energy or life left, you have to prepare for an impossible task. Like you have, and I was like, I just want to do nothing. Like it takes so much just to get to 24 hours of doing nothing. It took so much. And I would just be like, yo, this is not happening. I just wanted to do nothing for 24 hours. Why is this so tough? Like, that just get me to those 24 hours and I'm the happiest man. That I don't have to do anything. I can just be there. Whatever may come next. And so that was...
At the end of the day, I was in Delhi, I remember.
Yeah.
And I was fully involved with your performance.
Okay.
So I must say you did a pretty good job there. I mean, bringing things together and getting people inspired from around the world, maybe around India, but you definitely left a mark there.
Kafi shukriya, because one thing that we realized was even though it's my profession, I personally don't exist a lot on social media. I showed up after a year. I mean, I'm familiar with it. It's on my phone every day. I look at it. But I showed up after a year of not existing, put out a post that this is going to happen a week later, and then mentally, physically, everybody's like, okay, the gauntlet is out. It's all in. It's happening. 3 days before the performance was when it all came together. Like, I had a couple of more breakdowns, like a proper breakdown. जब सारे पेज खुल गए दिमाग और body के, सब disintegrate हो गया. I was like, I'm not gonna fight this. It is what it is. I have broken down, like that. And we took it from there. So when I was entering the performance, the last few hours, like I had woken up. I was supposed to wake up 3 hours before the performance started. I woke up 7 hours, 8 hours before the performance started, and I just couldn't sleep because it was the daytime. My sleep cycle was, even though flipped, but electricity wasn't there and I just couldn't sleep. So I still was able to hold my calm, and I walked into the performance where feeling ki, okay, I'll reach the venue, everything will be sorted, and I just have to go there, put my laptop on, like switch on the live stream on my Zoom, and we're going here. I got there, and the last half an hour, a few people in my team are shooting stills of me. I'm sitting here, and they're like, okay, do this. And I'm like, we got that done, and I was supposed to be like chilling out there by myself in the park and just like lying down and grounding myself. Sorry. And I was like, I'm not supposed to be doing this at this hour. Like, where the hell is the clocks? Are the clocks synced up? Like, because I'm looking at two clocks are behind me. Let's get the live stream on. So it was insane panic in the last half an hour. Then I finally managed to scream at everybody, got everybody out of the garage, talked to them for the last minute, and it was like 60 seconds to the performance, and like we've made it, and this is it. Like this, if there was ever a parameter of success, just us being here, like setting this up for people to experience, this is it.
Half done.
This
Job
is,
half done.
I was like, this is success. Ab jo ho raha hai, that's a gift that we have given to ourselves. That's fruit.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Success has happened. Like, it's not about me completing those 24 hours. That ain't success. The fact that we'll be able to live this in those 24 hours, that's success.
That is such a beautiful thing to say to your team at that point.
And
Honestly.
love it. I'm glad. And immediately I ran in. I was like, okay, 40 seconds to go. I'm looking at this clock. And I sat and I thought like I'd sit there and chill out and figure out my situation physically. The most comfortable spot. Didn't have the time. I saw there's like 20 seconds left. I sat down and I had my hands on the chair rest like this. And I was like, okay. I checked with myself if I keep it like this, within 20 minutes I'm gone. Because my muscles will flex out and these muscles will give in and kuch dikkat hogi. The last 2 seconds, I put my hands like this and it started. And everybody's just like, all of a sudden, it's like I just disappeared into the environment.
I know what you're talking
Like, and I couldn't feel it, but once I saw videos, I talked to people, they were like, you just weren't there anymore. And I love the irony in this. I think words don't do it justice enough, but at the same time, that I was even like 10x there. I was 20x there in all of those moments. So it's really contrasting. So we started off the first few hours were a breeze.
Was it?
Was like, because I knew 3 hours is like easy. 3 hours.
When you just said that someone told you that you weren't there after 8 p.m. you weren't just there. So in some way, are we trying to justify our presence through our movement and through our speech only? Not through our energies or through our presence through the energy, and only if we move are we present is what you felt?
मैंने तो कुछ बोला ही नहीं. Literally. But from what people perceived, I mean, it was the same people who talked in lengths and depths about how they lived, what they lived, what were they living across the 24 hours multiple times when they showed up. But at the same time, there were people who were like, yaar, for a second, if I was so in there and I felt like it's all just still only. Like,
Yes, you were giving a talk to your team a minute ago and then you were just
yeah.
not speaking and you were the focus. It does change, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the point. There were so many variables and so many things changing, and then there's this one guy just sitting there. Like, it's something that everybody relates to, sitting still or not doing anything. But actually seeing it happen and being drilled down into you, when you actually witness it happening for the first time and you're able to put an image to it and you're like, oh, this is legit happening.
That's what. Everyone relates to sitting still, but no one understands it.
Exactly. Nobody does.
But with your performance, you were able to make people understand, make people live what you were living. Make people understand what presence is. Like, the real presence is just being, and sitting idle is the actual presence, and you made them feel through your performance.
I understand that statement. I would still say that I didn't do anything. I didn't make them understand. I might have been a catalyst.
A catalyst.
Because मेरी side से तो in fact nudges is zero thing. So sheer presence can also be via doing nothing. I think idle won't be a word for that. It would be just like I was just there, not doing anything but there. So sitting idle, I would relate it to a little more mindless way of sitting.
I'll give you another correlation. Sorry to interrupt you.
Sure.
You know, people who are no more
Yeah.
have the maximum amount of, effect on us.
Okay.
For example, Mahatma Gandhi, after he died, we understood his importance and what he did for us.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of other big personalities, right? So it was similar to them. Your performance marked as maybe you're no more amongst that that environment, because you weren't moving, because you weren't speaking. So it was a similar, connotation to leaving a mark once you're not present, once you're not there anymore.
That's a really interesting way to put it. I think sheer absence is as important or as, मैं equivalent नहीं बोलना चाहता, but it's as important as sheer nothingness, or sheer absence is as equivalent or as important as sheer presence. Nothingness is as important as abundance. थोड़ी मेटा बात है, but I really feel that.
No, but because we were talking about the impact that you put on people, and you immediately your inner self was like, no, I didn't do anything. But you did. Of course, it came through you, but you were the medium. You were the medium for that feeling that people around you felt.
That's very fair.
Even though your ego doesn't allow you to say that, I did that and I was able to, shift people's perception even for a little time. But it was you were the medium.
That's very fair to say. Yeah, because performance art का फंडा ही है. Your body becomes the medium. You become the medium. Like, it's the life that you're living. That is the medium of the art. So that's very fair to say.
It is a good practice from you by saying that I didn't do it, because you're trying to contract the ego within you, which is a good practice to do. But also let your subconscious know that the things that you're doing has a purpose. Don't let that die in your subconscious, that whatever things you're doing has an impact on it, has an impact on the environment around you.
Impact to bhayankar tha. That too, I ended up realizing. I was like, I know it's gonna be a trip for me. I didn't know it was gonna be a trip for people around me, because that was the first time when people were around, and I was like, damn, people are feeling this intensely. This got too deep. I wasn't expecting this, because we ended up calling everybody for an after party at my place after 2 days.
After 2 days,
After 2 days, yeah.
I was on a call with Arjun the day of the performance, and he did take you out for dinner. I remember, and I remember asking him to avoid. I was telling him to let you know to avoid something heavy, because your system cannot just take in food after that, 36 hours of not eating.
Yeah.
So I remember that conversation with him. So yeah,
a lot of liquids involved. They were like, okay, as soon as I was sitting there in the last minute, as soon as I moved, people are losing it. Dunya baabli ho rakhi hai. I am tearing up. Every molecule in my body is just buzzing the shit out. There's liquids that are placed there by my team, and I'm like, I pick up the bottle and I'm about to drink it, and I get my eyes up, and Arjun's there, and we are just saying, cheers! And I just chugged up a couple of bottles of water, and then we ended up packing everything up. He's busy making iced tea for people. He's like, okay, liquids, like his usual bit. But I'm glad, just everybody was there. Like, people who didn't even know me, people who were passing by, and they're like, "Ye chal kya raha hai?" And they're like, and every other person in Goa knew about it. I mean, I did my fair bit. I will give myself credit for that.
For sure.
But every other person, even when I later got introduced to people as a performance artist, in parties later or at random places that we'd probably go out to, and
they would probably know you. They would be like, yeah, we've heard about you.
They're like, oh,
you're the Mojo.
He's a 24. And Arjun or anybody would just start as, okay, he just did a performance where, and they're like, you're the 24-hour guy. I was like, yeah, I sat still. And there's been so many jokes after that about just chairs and random people coming into a party, and then Mojo, chair? You want a chair? Don't leave Mojo in a room with chairs. Wo baith jayega. I was like, okay, I call this upon myself.
Was there anyone who was there present all 24 hours?
No.
No.
There were people there for a long time. I remember my mom, dad, 2-3 of my friends from the Young India Fellowship, they were always there on Zoom. A couple of other friends also, I could see them. I remember them at least 20 to 23 hours out of the 24 on Zoom, because there were times when I could see people's names, and there are times when there were so many people that the names would become so small, but those few people were always there. In person, there were people there, my crew was there 6 hours, and a couple of people were there 12 hours, the floor managers. But there were a bunch of people who showed up, like Mohit, Mohit Bachani, he showed up for like half an hour. He's like, I'm gonna go there. I know Mohit. I'm gonna see him for half an hour and just be back. And he ended up telling me he lived through some things that were like, he's like, I wasn't able to go. I didn't want to go. And he stayed for 9 hours. There were times when he was just like, yo, you got this. Go for it. And I used him as an anchor at times. And there were times when he told me that he lived so many things through this.
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, oh, काफी कुछ हो गया यार तेरी लाइफ में उन 9 घंटों में. तू तो खड़ा हुआ था बस, like. And that's the beauty of it. Like, समझ नहीं आता. Can't rationally explain it, but a lot ended up happening, even when nothing was.
Was there any moment when you felt there's no energy around you, there's no one around you?
Yeah. Even when there was nobody around me in the early morning hours, like say the last few people who were there was still 4:30, 4:45. That's when like 7-8 people who were there. They finally took off. My crew was there. But still, the sun was rising. I could see the light changing. I could see that there was a new phase kicking in. I think deep में जाएंगे उस चीज़ में, the fact कि what I was feeling or living through in each of those hours, because that's a very heavy split. But I can tell you कि there was a time when it was heavy for me, just because there wasn't anything external that I had to deal with. I had already been exhausted by 12 hours of people living with myself, but in that time it felt like कि, okay, everything's just vanished off. And that's something for me also to take in at that moment after 12 hours of just being there. So it didn't feel like there was no energy or nothing around me, but a lack of people or a lack of impulses that I could possibly feel or like try to untangle with my brain. So I'm glad अच्छा हुआ वो भी था.
That would have been...
Yeah. It's a good refresh button.
What was your range of your eyes? Like, I mean, if I'm seated like this, I'm looking straight, right?
Yeah.
But if...
Can go to like 180 degrees actually.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think being a point guard in basketball, that's what it's all about.
Were you using that 180 degree?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Because initially I realized ki if anybody would come in, the first time I actually ended up locking eyes with somebody, I felt a jolt of energy. I was like, something just hit me. I was like, oh, it's not just one way. This is happening two ways. There are times when I mean something, whether it be like by just moving my eyes or really if I mean something. There are times when somebody is like, I think he's meaning to communicate something. Is the fan not enough? And I would nudge somebody and like, oh, this needs to be done. Or maybe so they didn't realize that communication would happen. Nobody knew this. But things were happening. Like, there was a time when Veda, who was the floor manager for the first 12 hours, the second shift ended, and I remember afterwards the performance he told me. But what happened was he ended up going to Gaurav, who had come in for the third shift at 8 in the morning, and he's like, okay, don't freak out, but he's talking to us. And everybody's still freaked out. He's like, what the hell is happening? I think it was super cool. Nobody realized that this was even possible, or like we would end up having to communicate or end up communicating. But काफी cool था यार. Like, just to be in that space, realize that there's exchanges happening, people are feeling a lot of things, I'm able to comfort them. और मैं तो अपने में कर रहा था. I was like, yeah, I know what you're feeling. Like, love you, yeah. Thanks for being here. But surprisingly, talking to them later and knowing that they felt that I had sort of like been like, okay, yeah, gotcha, or they had a response from my side was mind-boggling, because I was like, how the hell did this get to you? Like, how did you feel that I acknowledged your presence? How do you feel that I was like, thanks a lot for coming, or like, got your back, thanks a lot for being there for me, or like, how did any of this happen? Like, मैंने तो कुछ नहीं बोला, मैंने कोई eyebrow भी move नहीं करी यार. Like, how is this happening? So
there's an intangible answer to that. That is emotions and energy is the answer. Yeah,
I mean, it's a very tricky word to dive into, energies, because समझ नहीं आता. Eventually, you can't quantitatively, मतलब you can quantitatively, scientifically explain it to yourself. But at the same time, when you're living it, how do we possibly deconstruct something that we might even not know what
we
it's
don't
eventually.
have to deconstruct.
Yeah, best है मैं तो वही कहता हूँ.
Is this communication? Are you trying to deconstruct this communication as well? If
I have come to terms with the fact that there are so many things that I don't even know that exist, and I will not be able to find answers to most of the things that really matter about the crux of what's happening in life or what is life. अंदर क्या चल रहा है, and I'm okay with that. I think it's always going to be an investigation, and it just like helps me find out more about myself.
but you trying to investigate into something like that is taking
It's
the
play.
charm of it,
It's
taking
play.
out the charm of it, because you're not present then. You're not present. You're either thinking about what it could be or what it might be.
I think even more so it is. Because when I like take that first step into something, it's sheer out of curiosity and play. And I think play is serious business. Like there are times when you're in state of play, you're like, ये करके देखते क्या होगा, like ये क्या चल रहा है यहाँ पे. So that state of play or curiosity like gets all of your heart and all of your presence into just there. कि not what it could or could not be, but अभी क्या चल रहा है? Like can I like play with it, tinkle with it like a kid? Like, but a kid who is just like has become a little bit more aware of himself. So he's able to consciously bring himself, be like, and it's not even a task when it really your heart's there. तब तुम्हें अपने आप लगता है कि you're like, I think I need to be here only. I really don't mind going anywhere else.
I mean, you had a lot of co-people around you.
Yeah,
But the most important people are your parents.
yeah, 100%.
How did they feel being back in Delhi? How was their emotion from the time you told them that you're
Yeah.
going to do something like that? And their support during the show as well?
That's where a really interesting part, because my parents come from a really orthodox approach or way of thinking. That's how they've been brought up. My mom's been a school teacher for all of her life, 35 years, and then she's retired. And my dad didn't study past high school, and then he's been doing a lot of things, and he retired after a bypass surgery. So everything that I did as an unorthodox move, relatively, right from college, was like a bomb to them. Like a math prodigy, son of a math teacher, failing like 14 exams during college. Like I saw my parents cry. They were like, घर को मोटेल बना रखा है, पूरा दिन पता नहीं कौन सी परफॉर्मेंस नाटक वाटक कर रहा है, नौटंकी कर रहा है, रात को ये पता नहीं कौन सी कंपनियां चला रहा है, गालियां पड़ती थी. But I think it's only when I delivered on the backs, when I was like cleared all of them in a single go, they're like, oh, he was maybe saying the truth 3 years back. Maybe he does have his shit under control. Got into YF, got them another one. Then sorted myself with a gig that paid me exactly on my own terms, and did something that I really wanted to at that time with communication and working with people, institutions. So I think it just reinforced their confidence. So when they heard about this performance, or that I was going to venture out into performance art, they obviously didn't understand jack shit. When people who are fairly accustomed to, like Gen Z people also who know about art, like modern art or whatever, contemporary art, अगर उन्हीं को समझने में दिक्कत हो रही है, so I can't expect much of my parents. But I think over time what I've realized is they love me a lot. I love them. And I think then it's about communication. Even if they don't understand me completely, can I put my heart out there in each of those arguments to actually try to bring them along? Just tell them ki, hey, you trusted me back then, you let me do this. See, it's taken a few years, it's taken some time, but I've been able to do things exactly how I wanted to. And that's still the case right now. Right now, it is something that you might not imagine. कि कैसे होगा, safely होगा कि नहीं, because they were scared. Because the first time when I did the piece, it was in a room and they were just locked out in a different room and they couldn't open the door. Like those were the instructions. And even in this one, they're scared. They're like, okay, we know you've done this, but they were there on Zoom all the time. Like they were in the previous performance also. I remember afterwards my mom told me that there was a point in time, 5:30 in the morning, we couldn't see you on Zoom and we lost it. So she sent dad की side वाली खिड़की से ऐसे curtain से देख के आओ if he's alive or not. And dad comes and sees from the window, like he's sitting there only doing nothing, same. Like,
that is the purity of it, bro. That is the purity of the energy that we're talking about, the love that it holds.
Like I think if you're fighting, whether with your own self, with what reality is right now, if you're always gonna be in a punching battle with it, ki why is it not this, why is this not happening, it's just gonna spend you. If you let go of that a little bit, the more you let go of that, it's an endless battle in life. Sure, I'll take that, but the more I try to let go of that, the more I'm able to just be able to love, I guess. And I've just hung on to love, bro. I've like hung. This wouldn't be possible if all of my people didn't just get my back. The people who filmed this are some of the best filmmakers in the city. The floor managers, some of the best producers, consultants in the city. Like, and the communications person similarly. And these guys showed up to just make this happen. They're like, yo, we got this. We'll make this happen. Generator kahin se aa gaya hai, kuch kahin se aa gaya hai. And my parents are like got on a call with me even in the middle of the process. They're like, you got just like go for it. हम देख रहे होंगे. That goes a ton. Like for them to place your trust in you and make sure you have the space to do something, I think that changes the game. To know that your people are around you. That's all it takes. Because
Who's the first person did you see after a performance and who you locked eyes with, or you went hugging them, or you felt the need to see them or touch them?
I think it was a very, very different scenario as soon as the performance ended. There were like about 150 people stacked into that small ass garage. And the last 1 hour, I could see everybody's face, their eyes, what they were living through, just like tuck, 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 tuck. And everybody was going through a journey of their own. I remember Fatima coming in really joyous, jolly. 5 minutes later, she has tears streaming down. Ragini came in, just meditated there for an hour, and it just flipped me out. Like, so even when I got up, when I was about to get up, for 5 minutes, they were just clapping. There's just applauds and screams, and like, I decided to do an extra couple of minutes because I was like, some fucker will just come and be like, hey, you did like 23 hours, 59 minutes, you didn't do exact 25. I was like, I'm gonna do extra.
Definitely.
So they kept clapping. They're like, okay, one for the road. So they kept going, and as soon as I got done with it and looked up, it was literally, you can see me in the videos where I'm just like took my time, and I remember this very clearly, to make sure that I was able to really take in every single person who had given me this part of their life to experience this with me. In their own true way, that nobody will be able to take it away from them.
Yeah.
Good, bad का कोई scene ही नहीं है. They lived those 24 hours in a certain way, and that's theirs to keep for the rest of their lives. So it was literally everybody.
It was important to, give your gratitude towards every person who was present there.
Yeah.
Not just present there, but everyone who was supporting you for the last 24 hours.
Yeah, and who were able to just be there and share whatever they had in their life in those 24 hours, just like by being there. Because it flips you out. Ekdam se. When you see so many people just there to see a guy do nothing, but they're up for it. They're like, okay, we're gonna be here and see what life has to offer in this scenario. That takes a lot.
One of the biggest things that I believe in is seeking discomfort.
Yeah.
Seeking discomfort and growing to your maximum potential is something I strongly believe in, and something I practice on a regular basis as well. Trying new things, failing, getting back up, and just putting myself in a situation which will be a little discomfortable for my mind more than my body, because that's where the victory lies, the mind. A performance like that had a immense discomfort involved.
Yeah.
Do you want to help me understand what kind of discomfort, and you want to help me live that kind of discomfort as well? Could be physical, could be mental, could be on an emotional level, whatever discomfort you were feeling and you went through it. I would love to understand that.
I think you always you have to live through life. You can't dodge things and go the other way. I knew very consciously that I was heading into massive discomfort. I knew pain would show up, physical. I knew I would be spun into thought spirals at times, maybe. that I didn't know what was causing them. There could be people doing things, saying things to me, and I didn't know what they would make me feel. So you really go in expecting everything and then nothing at all. Like you show up and you're there for all of it. And I really support this, like the fact that you have to be able to go through discomfort to let yourself really live it. I think a term I would use is confidently discomfortable or confidently uncomfortable, because
That comes with practice.
yeah,
You have to keep putting yourself
it's
in a
muscle
situation.
memory. It's
Yeah.
muscle memory for your
Yeah.
mind. You have to be familiar, be able to be like, I have been in this place. Sure, this moment might be uncharted territories for the kind of discomfort I'm feeling, but I know the fundamentals of it. Like I can feel the some sensations on my body, and there is no sensation that has lasted forever. Like kabhi khujli hui hai. Have you had an itch? There is no itch that has lasted forever. Like every sensation arises to pass away, and it's a very sure might seem like intellectual masturbation, but like fundamentally it's true.
It's just a practice to
Keep reinforcing that.
keep shutting your mind, which is going to tell you things, which is going to send you thoughts of the discomfort. which
मैं
is
shut
gonna-
down नहीं करता actually.
Not shut down. But
I
try
take
to
like just like acknowledge everything. I want to live everything. Like मेरा वो फंडा होता है कि whatever comes, we will not prohibit or stop anything.
No,
We'll
but
just
what
observe
I'm trying
them and let them
what
go.
I'm trying to say is, whenever you're in a situation which is not comfortable for you, right? Your mind is gonna tell you to do things otherwise.
हाँ.
But you have to shut it up and be like, shut the fuck up and let me do my thing. And that's how you keep doing that, and your subconscious is strong enough to not question you after a while.
Fair. At the same time, I would add to that would be कि when those moments of discomfort arise, I try to not do a mind battle with it, but I try to go back to fundamentals, which are, let's say, कि lived things that I can experience.
Okay.
Like Vipassana is nothing but this: कि every sense you're observing your breath as it is. You're observing any sensations on your body as they are, and you know they will pass. Like when anything that you feel will come out somewhere as some sensation on your body. Are you aware enough to feel those or observe those? Because once you're able to observe those, you can tell your mind, okay, cool. It's a sensation. Sensations pass. I can be chill about it. Pain, insane pain. Okay, it's pain. I can feel it here. Sensation. Oh, it can pass. It'll pass. Chill. So there comes a point, sure, for everybody's mind, always, when they're like, yo, this is too much. I know we're here for like all that impermanent stuff, but this is too much. So that's where I think you start finding more gears to yourself. You're like, okay, I think I'm spent, but am I? If I hold strong in this moment, am I really dying? Like, am I really out of everything that I have to give here? Like, and I realize I've never run out of heart. You still have more to give. Like, and it's not like you're pushing yourself. Okay, I'm gonna lead myself to my destruction, but I will give my all. Like all of that. But you realize your mind and body really got your back.
Yeah.
Like if you just stay steady, don't waver into a plan B or everything. Even when those scary thoughts come, when your mind wants to spin you out, divert you into like quitting or whatever, just be like, okay, fundamentals are strong. We got this. हो जाएगा. कुछ things will happen. We'll live through different things like we don't expect. I think that's what uncomfort, uncertainty is all about, and it slaps the ego in its face. What is the point of your ego? Like our egos, we want to know everything. Like kuch nahi pata, can't stand that. How did we come into this place? God. Because why? We has to have an answer. Why don't we have an answer? That answer is now God.
Yeah.
Like, I think the game for me has become कि I'm okay with not answering things that I don't know. it's okay that we don't know. Uncertainty is okay. Chill.
Acceptance. You just accept whatever's happening.
Yeah, I mean, why? Like, we're not the pinnacle of existence. Like, I didn't create life. It is happening around me, to me. And yeah, we're just here for the ride. Dekhte kya hota hai. But I'm okay with discomfort, and I think that has come with practice. Not just in meditation. It's an extreme way of actually exercising your mind, sure. But in life also, I do these warm-ups for performance art. If let's say Sachin would do net practice or Steph Curry would shoot like a shooting drill for the 3-pointers, I was like, what would the greatest performance artist of all time? Or just a performance artist who's an OG, who is dedicated to his craft or like to what he's after, just like trying to find out, या फिर खेल रहा है, तो how would that person warm up if it wasn't a performance? I was like, inertia.
Release.
If there is an invisible force that stops you from doing something, some people at times you might term it as lazy, at times you might feel like yeah, मुझे करने का मन नहीं है, but something that, like when you are standing in front of like a cliff and you're like, okay, there's water, I'm gonna jump, you know swimming, but you like something inside you tells you like
The fear of unknown.
कुछ है हाँ, मतलब that inertia no कि क्या होगा, या फिर there is just an invisible force, you know कि you're gonna jump, you're gonna be okay, you know how to swim, you're fucking bet at that, but you still, there's something inside you that stops you from doing. I feel like I call that inertia, like that invisible force that is present at the static state before it's pushed into motion.
Right.
And it's not just true like in physics for objects, but also for humans. Like getting on that bus to take that trip to Himachal could be a really small example, but there's still inertia there in your decision and execution. So that invisible gap, I feel I did a practice where I would try to identify inertia in my life and break it consciously every day.
Very well said.
So let's say for a year after COVID, I hadn't run for like 14 months, and this is the middle of winters, and I was like, tomorrow morning I will wake up at 5:30. I told my friends actually, जिनके साथ मैं रह रहा था, I was like, okay, tell me things that bakchod stuff that I can break my inertia off of. And they're like, first, you go run. You've been saying for like fucking 2 months that you're gonna run. You haven't run. First, go run. I was like, okay, I will run tomorrow morning. Oh damn, there's an alarm going on. So the first bit was this. I was like, okay, I will go run tomorrow morning. So I started running after 14-16 months, and I ran a 5K at 5:30 in the morning, and I was able to do it in 24 minutes, which is good time. Like I would play frisbee professionally. So my team was like, yo, how is this happening? How did you pull off a 24? So then we made an entire list for 21 days. Okay, the next day what we're going to do is do a chai run, like run 5K to the nearest chayos in Gurgaon and bring chai for everybody before the sun comes up. Then the second bit was living your entire day standing. And that made me so conscious, just doing something with so much presence every moment. Like there were even times at night, right before the day is about to end, we're like changing the bed sheet, and I'm just like subconsciously my mind is just like
fall on
yeah, like it's a fresh bed sheet, you change the bed. I was like, oh, and then went to Himachal, actually caught a bus, went for a walk at -4 degrees temperature into the hills at 2 in the night. Then I saw a cliff and I realized that was 300, so did a solo trek, like dodged a storm on the apex of the mountain. So all of those things were just to break inertia in different aspects of my life. Started from walking from point A 30 kilometers without a point B in mind. Just random things that would just break inertia, that would throw you into just life.
But the fundamentals of the inertia comes from the mind.
Yeah.
It is just the mind trying to play games with you.
Yeah, 100%.
So once you realize that you just have to fight through it, you understand life better.
जैसे ही उसको ऑब्जर्व कर लेते ना कि माइंड ये बकचोदी कर रहा है, लाइक ए देख लिया मैंने, अब ये देख और ये मैं अपना करेगा, मैंने देख लिया तुझे. But if you're constantly involved or like round up in that cycle of reacting, तो ये थोड़ा पीछे हट के ऑब्जर्व नहीं कर पाते ना खुद को.
Yeah.
तो गेम चेंज
Even when you're skydiving,
yeah,
you are on that plane looking down, scared if the parachute would open or not.
Yeah. 12 things
That's
that
the
will
biggest inertia and the biggest, challenges your mind's gonna throw at you.
12 different things that your mind will tell you that can go south so that you don't jump, so that you don't confront inertia, discomfort, and you are just not in the moment, because like it'll throw everything at you. So I'm like,
But when you
okay,
ask the person how they felt after a jump,
oh wow, like exhilarated.
no one has ever said that they wouldn't do it again. No one.
Yeah.
So
fair.
there's massive learning from that.
Yeah, 100%. I think uh, I gave myself a hack, and it came from literally talking to, let's say, women. When I was early on in college, I didn't know how to speak English, didn't know how to talk to people. Social interactions were shit because all of the last few years of college, I'd been a nerd or like playing basketball. I was like, how does life interactions go? So I put in work into that, but then I realized there's a lot of like fear that comes in. I was like, oh, that CEO, you want to talk to him, and then you're like, oh, or that hot girl that you want to approach and like talk, have a legit conversation with, but you're like, oh, do not do it. I think that's where the first time I really interacted with inertia, and I was like, the best way to go about it is 3, 2, 1 jump. Do not, when you've realized your mind is gonna play 20 games with you, I've realized ki it will start playing games, but I will not give it time to.
Yes, that is the
I will jump.
secret to fighting the inertia.
Yeah, I was like, ki, start, take the first step. Once you're there in that moment, once life is happening, then you will figure it out in the moment, or whatever happens, you live with it. But यहाँ खड़े होके मेरे mind को मैं chance नहीं दूंगा to hold me back. So I would always, sooner or later, I was crash and burn sometime, like massively crash and burn at times. But some of the most beautiful experiences have always come out of taking that leap into discomfort.
I'm gonna throw a very unusual word at you
Okay.
now, and this word has a different meaning for everyone.
ठीक है.
I will tell you what it means to me
Sure.
and how I see that word. That word is ego.
Okay.
I see ego as omnipresent. I see ego in every conversation. Even this conversation that we are having is coming deep from the ego.
Okay.
You witnessed a lot of shift in your ego before your performance, during the performance, and after the performance. How was it, transitioning from one phase to another, and how did you feel your ego shift, your ego change, ego of yourself, ego of the people around you? How was it changing and shifting? But first, you tell me what you understand by the word ego.
I think the invisible layers of identity that in our mind make up for who we are, I think that is the ego. Solidified into the mind, like almost like we can't even distinguish. That is who we are almost. But like, ठीक है, meta घुसोगे कि who are we? Then it's a different conversation. But I think that's what ego is. I wouldn't say कि it kept changing. What I felt over times of going through intense experiences or performances like these, or Vipassana especially, in those few days, has always been like, there were times when I was observing, it would just come up to me कि जैसे ख्याल आता है ना, तुम जैसे शायरी में बोलते कि तुम ख्याल पकड़ते हो, मतलब ख्याल आता है तुम्हें, तुम कॉन्जर अप नहीं कर रहे हो उसको, तुम ख्याल पकड़ते हो, आइडिया आ गया, ठीक है. So it was fairly similar. Like, I ended up observing some things or a way in which my mind behaved, and it scared the shit out of me because that was my ego. I was like, my ego didn't want me to. There was a time when my ego made me, I was facing it when I was doing Vipassana, and I was like, ki bhai, my mind had started making me believe ki I didn't even know the technique of meditation, because it was just carrying me through, carrying me forward. I was like, bro, this ego scares me, and it's there within me. Like, this is who I am, or this makes up some part of me. I was like, yo, this is scary. Like, that part of me just shook me up. So I believe it's always come up at different smaller times, like as different forms. Sometimes as anger, reactions, frustration, irritation, jealousy. it manifests as different things in my mind and body at times, but surfaces I think what has been the trick for me is to just realize that it's there and let it be, rather than trying to fight it कि नहीं मुझे ego खत्म करनी है. That's an endless battle. जब तक हम alive हैं या फिर enlighten नहीं हो जाते तब तक identity है, ego है, सब कुछ है, मतलब वो कहीं नहीं जा रहा है. That's an endless battle. The best we can do is
Calm it down.
or like keep getting back to love. Like I think
Beautifully said.
ego operates on fear.
Beautifully said.
Like ego will always operate on fear. The more you're actually connected out to just fucking nature or yourself, I think the more I've been able to sort of nudge myself towards taking choices or decisions rooting from love rather than letting my insecurities or my fears take over. And I think that's been the game changer. Not ignoring the fact that there is ego, there is, and I will live with it. And it is the best we can do is still make sure कि we're doing good. That's all that matters. Following our heart, and if that's put in the right place, I think I'm good there. That's where I find my solace. It's not about defeating the ego for me. So yeah.
Lovely. What are the three fundamentals that you had to go with in this performance? What was the three fundamentals that you would say that, you know, these were the fundamentals before I headed into this performance like this? Would you like to tell me that, like the three?
I think the first would for sure be go all the way. Like if I'm going to commit to something, we will be there for all of it. Now, what version of life will happen in those moments, we'll find out when we reach those moments, when those moments are going on. But so that was definitely one key. We'll be there for it. The second was I don't want to fight things as much as I can. I really want to give if I'm there for something, I might as well commit to it properly, you know.
Yeah.
Like उसमें half ass करने का फिर फायदा नहीं है. अगर 24 घंटे अपनी life के I've actually committed to something and to this art form or to this performance, then for me it became all about we do justice to this the best we can. Not ki, okay, every 10 seconds I need to make sure I blink. I'll do that. But I will do justice to me living life in those 24 hours. For me, that becomes the bottom line. And that is how I live life. Like that's the best part. For as a performance artist, the way I blur the line, or I like to blur the lines between life and performance, is like I don't have to do practices or rehearsals. Like my rehearsals are living life only. Like my study is life. And that's also a blessing. Like for the last 2-3 weeks I've been doing nothing in life. Like tried to. So every time something inside me just like tries to jump out and be like, hey, why aren't you doing anything? Like get yourself a gig or like do this, do that. I'm like, oh, doing nothing is okay. I don't have to get caught up with how I've been raised in the society, made to believe like it's chill. Like let's do nothing. Let's really do nothing. And let's just live in for life, what life has to offer. So that was definitely two, just doing justice or trying to do
acceptance of the situation.
Give everything to that situation. If you've committed to that, give everything. Half-ass mat karo. And I think the third would be, I was just grateful, man. Like I don't think it works without any of, if let's say even a single person who had gotten my back to make this happen, even if a single person hadn't showed up, this wouldn't have gone through exactly the way it did. And even in the next few performances, like every conversation that I have with few of my people about ki, hey, this is what's going to happen, this is what we're trying to do. So many filmmakers who are just beautiful at their work, they've come up and be like, hey, get the first draft done, like is it ready, we want to see it, we want to give our perspective, it's great, whatever help you need, we're there for you. You need an extra lens, got it, our studio's there for you. So just knowing ki people have got your back, I think, or like it will never be an ISO effort. You can think कि हाँ भैया lawn tennis चल रही है लेकिन नहीं है. You can, this is not a one-on-one. There is no one-on-one here. Like if you do
it is you versus you.
It's you and everything, everybody around you with you. मुझे तो legit ये लगता है. Like one person succeeding will take everybody coming together, and it will not be at the cost of somebody failing. So it's never ki okay, if one person succeeds, then the others he's in competition, they're in competition with, will fail. I think really everybody has their own journey to take, and it happens with your people. It happens with actually working with people, collaborating with them, and actually doing it because you really want to. Not because it'll cash you up or it will get you to a particular stage of your career, or it'll prove something to somebody, or even to yourself. I don't want to prove stuff. I know there are the next performance that I'm planning. I think failure is imminent in that, and I am up for it still, because then it's about living that journey in those 24 hours or whatever that performance will be. So yeah.
So the 3 fundamentals were going all the way,
Never giving up, going all the way, and
gratefulness.
Yeah, realize that you're not alone in this.
Yeah.
You're standing on the shoulder of giants, and even right now, if you're moving, people are making sure that they have their hands right behind your back. So just in case if you slip, they got your back to really nudge you. Not like they won't do the work for you, but they will be there to nudge you and hold you.
At the end of the day, it's not you who's performing the acts, the duties you're doing. It's the universe doing it through you. Do you believe in something like
Heavy.
that? Yeah.
Heavy.
Okay. The next question I'm going to ask you is your learnings after this this experience. It's going to overlap with a lot of your fundamentals that you talked about before. But what would be a few learnings? Let's just talk about the 3 learnings that you came out of the performance.
See, don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid.
I mean, there are times when you would feel कि if this goes south, फिर तो the world will come falling down.
Mm-hmm.
Even in those moments, I would, I know mental health is a constant battle at times. It is a condition we all, a bunch of us deal with. But I still feel like courage is beautiful. I think it is knowing that fear exists and still
going for it.
Yeah, taking the step. Let's see what happens. It's also insane trust on yourself. You might still feel you're not ready for it. Still, you somehow, there is an element of trust and courage. Ki you trusting yourself, ki you will figure it out, or you will go through it, no matter how. किस तरीके से कैसे किस हाल में फिनिश लाइन पहुंचोगे या फिर मोमेंट जी जाएगी पता नहीं, बट यू गो फॉर इट. That's definitely one, because the worst way to say it would be डर के आगे जीत है. But I still feel कि courage is too beautiful. It opens doors that we don't even know existed.
So you learned how to be.
I think
I wouldn't call it being fearless, but I would call it accepting the fear.
Yeah, 100%, and that's also a kind of discomfort only. But yeah, be courageous. And the second was this courageous is like a consistent thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think make big moves and make them more often. I think that's something that's been something that has I've held for a while, and I've realized whenever it's a big move, it scares me a little, and if it doesn't scare me, I'm not interested. If it's impossible, great, I'm on it. That's what really drives you, because if it doesn't really shake you out of your boots into being a little more alive and to be like, oh, is this possible? Okay then. If it shakes you a little bit, I'm even more interested then. Or if I feel that my heart's there, I'm like, okay, we're gonna go for it. So, and this is a time, and there is no set time, but I think as young relatively as we are right now, it's a great time to just keep making high impact moves, have more moments of impact in life. And some people might even say ki, hey, life happens to you, so you gotta wait for your time, wait for things to happen. Yeah, but I think life is a constant cycle of alternating between the two.
Definitely.
Make more moves, then let life happen to you. Then you'll land up somewhere. Make more moves.
Imagine making
more moves.
Making 3 moves a year. Your year will have a substantial kind of experience over your life, and if you live up to 80 years, you'll have 240 such experiences to look back to.
And a lot of time, life brings you heavy moments of impact.
Definitely.
some of our closest friends passing away are like some of my friends' parents passed away in COVID, or like some of them actually got admitted to their dream university. So all of those are moments of impact. I get it, but like here it's just a personal journey, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
everybody eventually is on that. So
Serendipity, whatever it takes you, wherever it takes you.
yeah, but yeah, it's I would like to alternate between the two. Ki, haan,
Between
make big
serendipity and you, right?
make big moves, make them often, make more moves, and
Well said.
then let life happen, then do that again.
Well said.
Yeah, and that's while finding a job also. Like if
Yeah.
you make more moves, more things happen in the universe, more pieces are moved, more things come back to you. If you do nothing, nothing comes back to you. You didn't move jack shit.
And let go of things that are not serving you.
Yeah, oh, that's a really cool thing. I think it reinforced this heavily कि जो चीज़ मेरे control में है, if there's something that I can do about a situation or something, do it.
Yeah.
Simple. If you know it's something that you can do about it, great, do it. Tension लेने का reason नहीं है यहाँ पे. If there is something that you know it's out of your control, तब भी tension लेने का reason नहीं है technically, and you can just have a beer and sleep off. Like so, I think that's something that's so simple of an analogy to understand in colloquial terms, and I think it's fundamentally so sound. Like tension लेने का reason नहीं है life में. कुछ उखाड़ सकते हो तो उखाड़ लो, else just sleep off, just chill. So I think that's really liberating for me. It gets me into a state of play of sorts. Like, hey, cool, got this. So yeah.
So the king's reaction was one of a kind. No one had ever done this kind of feat before. You have done a few performances in the past as well. You've done a prime minister's reaction, or was it a president's reaction? Whatever it was.
Not aware of that.
Okay.
Title.
Then I'm misinformed. So you have done a few performances similar to what you've done before.
Yeah.
And you've done different acts as well. What is your next step? Where are you headed next? What is the next big performance that you're planning or you're thinking about, your team's thinking about? And where do you go from here?
I think this feat also humans have done everything. I really believe that. Like there might be some monk sitting in the Tibetan mountains who's just done extraordinary things. But to have it in a context of this performance, to actually investigate in those 24 hours or like see what goes on, I think that's in that context, yeah, sure, could be the first time.
On record, it was the first time.
Yeah, I mean, setting this up in this context just changes everything. That's how it becomes that performance, right? So yeah, I agree that the first time. But there are 2-3 things happening as we have this conversation. The first one is we're working on a documentary film. The process, the duration, during 24 hours bit and the aftermath for the first performance that's there. My journey, people who lived it, the crew who are in a very tricky position where they're observers but still deeply involved, and then they're still living the performance as well. So they have like 3 different lenses to the frames to the same situation to live it. That's an interesting journey to capture. So we have like, and at the same time we're planning to do 3 more locations and settings to the same performance to actually, so that I can get back to that space of play back again and have it in a very different setup, setting and a set of people. So सारे variables to just throw me out into the unknown and see what happens then. Let's say a monastery in Leh could be a damn nice option, literally in the middle of monks who don't even understand my language. What about a prison? Just ideas. So the docu is going to be the entire journey of me, what I lived through, what people live through me, through this performance, and the crew, how the journey progresses. People like Arjun, Ritika, people like Gaurav, Ron, how we all go through in this journey. There is another performance planned. There's a series of 5 actually, but there's another performance planned at Nikhil Chopra's place, his studio, on the 1st of September. So that's going to be a new piece that I've been working on, and might be a little intense, but it'll throw things out of the park a little bit. Like even me, I really don't know how that's going to pan out. But I think the first time when you think of a piece that intense, I think that's always going to be an uncertainty, and I am okay with that. And I'm like, okay, let's find out.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful. And I have no doubt that you will not be able to complete what you put your put to your target.
Shukriya.
And full love to you and your performances.
काफी शुक्रिया यार. Thanks a lot for arranging this out. This is damn beautiful of a location,
This
and
is probably the best interview I've ever conducted. And
feels 100% in the feels. Love it.
and I'm super grateful for you to be a part of it.
Yeah.
I appreciate you a lot. Thank you so much. If you enjoyed the episode or got some value out of it, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Until then, keep reimagining yourself and know that the power of change lies within you.